Hi guys, give me 1 second. I'm going to switch on the audio on my laptop and then we can get started, okay? What's up everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel / podcast. I am the marketing nomad. My name is Prithvi Madhukar. Now in this podio, we are going to be talking about self-confidence and self-doubt. Now before we get into the episode, a little bit of quick updates on my end, just that I know you guys are following along with me. It is Friday, November 17th, 10:56 a.m. when I'm recording this. Yeah, I'm actually recording it on the day of me publishing this podcast episode. The reason is I've taken a couple of days off for Deepavali, or it's also called as Diwali, Festival of Lights. It is my favorite festival, to be very honest with you. And I don't know, I think I just like how everything looks so pretty and beautiful with lamps all around and just the meaning of the festival, good over evil and just light over darkness. It's just such a beautiful concept, and I personally love the festival. It is one of my favorite festivals. So I've taken a couple of days off for Diwali, and other than that, because of all the dust in the air with the firecrackers, we call it pataki, so or pataka, the different languages. So in Kannada we call it pataki. So the pataki dust, the firecracker dust, and I have eye allergies right now as I'm speaking to you. Yeah, I just came back from the doctor yesterday, and yeah, I'm on eye drops for the next 30 days. So yeah, my physical health issue battles continue, I gotta say, but I'm trying to keep a very healthy mindset with respect to my physical health issues, and I'm hoping that I get out of it soon. But yeah, 30 days I'm supposed to be taking care of myself, and yeah, not very happy about it. But at the same time, at least I look fine. Not to be too graphic, but there's kind of like it's on the eye glands, and so yeah, I have to take care of it. So visually, you can't make out anything if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, but yeah, it's hurting inside, and I have to take eye drops 3 times a day for the next 30 days. Yeah, so hopefully things get better for me with respect to my physical health. But other than that, let's get into today's episode where we are going to be talking about self-confidence and self-doubt. Now, if you've been struggling with self-doubt, I highly recommend this episode for you for a good chunk of my life, all right? Like ever since I was born to now, something that people have always asked me is, where do you get your confidence from? And this is something that I am very, very proud of, to be very honest with you. And I think the reason why I am the way that I am today, I'm able to do the things that I do, and I'm able to lead a life that is very aligned with who I am, is only because I have a very different approach when it comes to self-confidence. And I wish to share that with you today in hopes that it too will infuse that confidence and that power and that strength for yourself so that you can lead a life that is most aligned with who you are today, all right? So let's get into my thought process when it comes to self-confidence and self-doubt. It's going to be a little bit different, so hang on and we will get into it, okay? So now, the thing that I do want to put across with this podio is that self-doubt, it creeps up everywhere, all right? It is there in every single person. It is there in every step along the way, and frankly, it just exists on its own. Okay? And, a lot of people, when they look at me, they see that I'm confident, I'm, putting myself out there and so on and so forth. But what they don't realize is I too am having my own self-doubts at every step along the way. It's just that my thought process towards self-doubt is a little bit different. I gotta give you an example, and I will give you a good example. So, for me, October 2020, I decided I was going to write a book. That was my first book, 0 to 4 Figures. And I decided I'd gotten the theme of the book ready in my head. All of it was all set. I knew how I wanted to. Well, I didn't exactly know how I was going to approach the book, but I had a general idea of it. And then I started writing a little bit, maybe I think a couple hundred words a week. And April 2021, I stopped writing. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I mean, I'm just 29. People who write books, they're a lot older than me, and a lot of other things were coming into my mind as well. I mean, I've just been in business for 3 years. Are people even gonna read it? Do I have the the expertise in quotes to actually write a book, a business book, that too, so on and so forth. And so my self-doubt had reached a point where I stopped writing. I really stopped writing in April of 2021. And up until October of 2021, I actually didn't write a single word. I just let it go. I said, you know what? I'm going to pick up the book a few years later. I don't think I can write this book now. I don't think I have the capabilities nor the capacity to write it. And I just didn't believe in myself. And so 6 months, I let it go. April 2021 all the way till October of 2021, I just let it go. I didn't write a book. But in those 6 months, what I did was I actually took steps to build my self-confidence. I started looking at my old primary composition books. They call it composition books in Singapore. I grew up in Singapore, and every week we were given these stories to write. Like, they'll give you 2 lines and then you have to complete the story with using your imagination. Or they would give you like a picture and then you would have to write a story based on that picture, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of emphasis on story writing, composition writing in Singapore, in this Singapore education system, at least at the time that I was growing up over there. And so I actually happened to find that book, and I started reading all of my composition writings from that age, from I think it was primary 3, 4, and 5. And I read all of my teachers' comments in those, and they really liked what I had to say. And I even had one teacher, his name is Mr. Fernando, and he had written saying, you have a talent in writing, don't give it up. And all of those things coming back to me at the age of 29, it was very, very powerful. And not just that, I slowly started putting my thoughts out to people, and I started getting on podcast episodes with other people. Like, I went on other people's podcasts and I started sharing my thoughts, and they loved what I had to say. They loved my ideas, the way I was thinking about certain topics. And so those little things started building my self-confidence up as well. On top of that, I was journaling a lot more. I was starting to dig into my self-doubt as to why do I feel that I am not capable, or I am not fit to write a book at this age of my life, a business book, and so on and so forth. And then I started dissecting those thoughts. So what I was doing in those 6 months from April 2021 all the way till October 2021 was I was building my self-confidence. And in October of 2021, my self-confidence was higher than my self-doubt, and I started writing again. September of 2022, I published my first book, 0 to 4 Figures. It is a business book. It has 61 stories and lessons on various entrepreneurship topics like self-love, positive mindset, growth mindset, success mindset. And then there are other topics like business strategy and marketing, and so on and so forth. And there are over 35 5-star reviews on Amazon for that book as I'm speaking to you today. So my point is that it's not that I'm devoid of self-doubt. I know that people seem to have this misconception whenever they look at me or whenever they look at anybody who exudes confidence. No, I think that self-doubt exists within all of us at every given step along the way. And honestly, if you ask me, I think that a healthy amount of self-doubt is necessary. Now, because I had that self-doubt within me, as I was writing my first book, I quadruple and 5 times, 6 times checked my book to make sure that it was top notch. And I wouldn't say 3/4, but I said 1/4 of what I had intended to write in that book, I deleted it because it just didn't match my standards or the standards that I had in my mind. And the only reason I was able to move through that process that way and give, a content that I was proud of at the end of the day was only because I had that healthy amount of self-doubt. Now, the reason why people seem to panic when they have self-doubt is because there is a common misconception that self-doubt should not exist or that it is wrong. You hear so many of these podcast episodes or these YouTube channels, with people shouting saying, you should not have self-doubt, let me remove your self-doubt, or get out of your self-doubt. And yeah, I think you can make out that those videos are a pet peeve of mine. They could be really, really good slogans, but I don't think that it is the most practical way to approach self-doubt. And frankly, I think it's wrong to try to remove the self-doubt that exists. I really think it's wrong because your self-doubt exists as a residue effect of a previous negative experience. All right? Perhaps something in your childhood, something previously that would have happened, and it may not have been the best experience for you. So your mind, what it has taken away from that incident is that I don't think you can do this. Let's not put ourselves in that situation again. Let's not put ourselves through that embarrassment again. Let's not be shameful. So in a way, self-doubt is there to protect you. Okay? It's just your mind saying, we didn't feel really good the last time this happened and we failed. So I don't think we should do this. I don't want us to feel bad again. That's basically what your mind is talking to you as you are having this self-doubt. And so for me, I believe that self-doubt is a very, very natural thing to occur to every single person. And it should exist. A healthy amount should exist because in a way, that is your mind protecting you. So the reason why I'm shooting this audio for you is because I want to give you an alternative way to approach your self-doubt and self-confidence. This is something that I have implemented for 31 years of my life. It has worked amazingly well for me, and I really want to share it with you because I know it will bring you that sense of peace and calmness that you might be looking for when it comes to tackling your self-doubt and your self-confidence. So here's the concept that I've personally implemented all my life. For me, it's okay that self-doubt exists. It's fine. It's there to protect me. I understand what its functionality is, and I'm okay with that. But my job is to take actionable steps to raise my self-confidence to exceed my self-doubt. Now I'm going to repeat that because that's very important, okay? It's okay that my self-doubt exists. It's there to protect me. Fine, I understand it. But my job is to make sure that I take actionable steps to increase my self-confidence to a point where it exceeds my self-doubt. Because here's the thing, when your self-doubt exceeds your self-confidence, you are unable to take action. That's what puts you in that frenzy, in that loop of, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And because your self-confidence is lower than your self-doubt, you get stuck in that position. But what if we flip the story? What if we flip that narrative and we raised our self-confidence to exceed our self-doubt? Self-doubt still exists in the corner. Self-doubt still telling you, I'm not too sure you can do this. But because your self-confidence has exceeded your self-doubt, you are no longer stuck in that position. You are moving forward. And that's my trick, guys. That is my secret. At every given point in my life, when my self-doubt has exceeded my self-confidence, I have not tried to eliminate it. I have not tried to remove it from my life. I have always accepted that it exists. Yes, I'm scared. Yes, I'm terrified. But my job right now is to focus on my self-confidence and make sure that I increase it to a point where it exceeds my self-doubt so that I can move forward. Because if you look at me at every single point in my life, let's take the last 4 years, for example, when I started my business, when I started, released my first course, when I started this podcast episode, when, this entire podcast, when I started my YouTube channel. Am I telling you that I didn't have any fear or self-doubt? No, of course not. I did. I was so scared. I was so scared, guys. And especially when I started my business, I mean, you have to imagine my entire career had just, been splashed out because I didn't get my work visa and I had to start from absolute scratch in another country. And instead of taking a full-time job, I was like, oh no, let's actually start a business and let's see how that goes. And it was an online business, and this was before the pandemic, so the concept of digital entrepreneurship was still growing. It's unlike the sudden boom that happened during the pandemic. So amidst all of that, I'm not saying that I did not have self-doubt. Of course I did. Of course I was scared out of my wits. I was. And I will never be ashamed to admit that, It's part of my process. It was part of who I am. And frankly, it was my mind protecting me, and I've got to respect that. I have to respect that. And so all I did in each of those periods was raise my self-confidence to a point where it exceeded my self-doubt, so that, I could say, okay, you know what? Self-doubt exists. You are there. You are there to protect me. I can see you. I can feel you at the back of my mind. But with peace and love, I'm going to raise my self-confidence so that I can move forward, And at every given point, my self-doubt has actually helped me to, when I was starting my business, to make sure I covered all my bases. Then when I started my podcast, I did so much of research. You will not believe I have binged through 1,000 episodes before I even had my first podcast episode out, just because I wanted to analyze and I wanted to make sure that I had a good starting point. So with, it was the same with my YouTube channel as well. Observing people, observing YouTubers had made it big, and so on and so forth. So the reason why I did all that was because there was a bit of self-doubt that was within me, that was protecting me, and I wanted to make sure that, I'm going to cover all my bases, because I know that you've got a little bit of self-doubt over there, so I'm going to cover all my bases so that you feel better about yourself. And so every single time you have a little bit of self-doubt, I don't want you to go in a frenzy or in panic. No. The reason why we panic is because we think self-doubt should not exist or it should be removed. No, remove that thought from your mind. Accept that it's okay for your self-doubt to exist. Be calm. Be absolutely calm. Be peaceful. Tell yourself, all right, I know you exist. I know you're there. I know you're there to protect me, and it's okay. I understand that. But you are not going to stop me. There's a difference. You are going to protect me, but you are not going to stop me. I am going to continue moving forward. I am going to keep building my self-confidence to a point where it exceeds my self-doubt, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And I got to tell you, with the example that I gave you with my book, it took me 6 months. It took me 6 months to build my self-confidence. And I do want to say that the bigger the task is, all right? Or the more self-doubt you have, the longer it is definitely going to take you to build that self-confidence, and that's okay. All right? That's okay. Give yourself that time. Give yourself that leeway. Okay? That's one thing that I want to put out there, because I think a lot of times we have a very, very distorted view or relationship with time. I guess I would say relationship with time. We tend to think that things have to go faster or things have to happen like this, but it doesn't happen like that. So understand that it's going to take you time. It is going to take you time, all right? And I want to say that it is normal. It is normal for you to have self-doubt. You are okay, all right? You by yourself, with your self-doubt, absolutely okay. Don't worry about it. Your job, your only job at this point in time, is to figure out actionable steps to raise that self-confidence so that it exceeds your self-doubt. Let me go over the concept again. When your self-doubt is higher than your self-confidence, that's when you freeze. That's when you don't you're unable to take that next step. You don't know what to do next, or you're unable to take. Most of the times you know what to do next, but you're just unable to take that step. And that usually happens when your self-doubt is more than your self-confidence. At that point in time, don't panic, don't be in a frenzy. Understand that your self-doubt exists. It's okay that it exists. But what you're going to do is you're going to raise your self-confidence higher than your self-doubt. Because when your self-confidence is higher than your self-doubt, that's when you are able to take action. Okay? I'm just looking down at my notes to just see if we've got everything, because I love this topic. To be very honest with you, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because I know that my perception of self-confidence and self-doubt is actually very different from what is there on the internet. And this has served me so well in the last 31 years. Like, I love the way I handle my self-doubt and my self-confidence. I agree that self-doubt is important. I agree that a healthy amount of self-doubt is necessary to protect us. And I don't beat myself up for having self-doubt. And I think that's one of the best things that I've done for myself all throughout my life. And if you ask me, I think that's my secret, the fact that I don't focus on removing self-doubt, because I think that that's a lot of energy. That's unnecessary waste of energy. Rather, I'd focus on raising my self-confidence to a point where it enables me to take action. Okay? So I'm just looking down at my notes over here. I'm saying healthy amount of self-doubt is necessary as long as it isn't hindering you from moving forward. You're okay. Okay? I'm going to repeat that again. As long as your self-doubt isn't hindering you to move forward, you're okay. It's okay that it exists. All right? Yeah, I want to say it again. It's okay that it exists. I know that a lot of people tend to panic about this, and I've had a lot of conversations with people as well, which is why I'm just stressing on it again and again. So I hope that this episode has calmed you down a lot with respect to your self-confidence and self-doubt. So now we come to the last section of this podcast episode, where you may ask me, all right, Prit, you're saying that I need to raise my self-confidence, right? So what do I do? What do I do in those moments like that? And so for that, I will tell you that raising your self-confidence is going to be extremely individualistic to what you want to have self-confidence for. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again. Raising the steps that you want to take to raise that self-confidence is going to be highly individualistic to what you want to raise your self-confidence for. So for example, with my book, I wanted to raise my self-confidence for my book, writing my book. So what did I do? I went through all of my previous achievements related to my writing, all of the awards that I won for my creative writing, all of my teachers' comments. It was simple things like that that really gave me that boost. Literally in my mind, it was like, if at 10 years of age, okay, I'm able to win awards for my creative writing, I'm able to get a comment like this from my teacher, I think, there's something here. There's something here that makes me different, that makes me capable of writing my first book at the age of 29. And then what else did I do? I journaled. I dissected why my self-doubt existed. And the fact was that I was a newbie entrepreneur. I'd only been in the entrepreneurship world for 3 years. But what I forgot was that I had an MBA degree. And basically for the last 10 years of my life, I've been reading about businesses. I've been observing my parents while they were running their businesses. There was a lot of experience and expertise that I didn't take into account. And so through journaling, it reminded me of all of that. What else did I do? There were actually a couple of things that I did, Yes, I started going on podcasts where I was the guest, and I was sharing my thoughts to other people, and I was telling them that, this is my thought process. And they were amazed. And you can go online, you can Google my name, and then all of those podcast episodes will come out, and then you can listen to them as well. And people were, I guess I would say, impressed by my thought process. And that gave me the confidence, guys. That really did boost my confidence, And then I started putting out weekly quotes, weekly thoughts out. And I started having these small sections of what's on your mind, where I would slowly start talking about 60 seconds of what was on my mind, those were received well by other people, and that too helped me boost my confidence. So it's not that I sat back and relaxed all those months from April to this October. It was October 2021 that I started rewriting again. And I'm telling you, it's not that I sat back and relaxed, I was taking actionable steps to improve my self-confidence. So if you're at a point where you're thinking, all right, my self-doubt exceeds my self-confidence at this moment in time, ask yourself, what is my self-doubt protecting me from? What was the trigger incident? Maybe something happened previously that you feel you're going to repeat it again. If that's the case, then keep asking yourself questions. How do I make sure I am not going to repeat that again? Okay? Or if you've seen it happen with other people and you're afraid that it's going to happen to you, like you've seen other people failing and you're afraid that it's going to happen to you, then ask yourself, okay, what is it that they may not have done that I could do to make sure that I don't repeat their mistake or the same thing does not happen to me? Because I do want to tell you that it's not a guaranteed success. Whatever you want to do, even if you do build your self-confidence to a point where it exceeds your self-doubt and it allows you to take action, nothing is a guaranteed success, all right? But when you are in the phase of building your self-confidence, you are doing your best to protect yourself, right? And that's okay. It's okay if something happens and, maybe you stumble in a different way. That's completely fine. Right now, we are focusing on the behind the scenes aspect of it. So how do you protect yourself from that? How do you do your best to protect yourself from that? How can you learn from other people's mistakes and make sure that you don't repeat their mistakes? You may create your own new mistakes, and that's okay. That usually happens too. But how do you protect yourself from the mistakes that other people have made, so on and so forth? Actually, one thing that I remember doing this, and I did this even for my second and my third book, is I put in the title, like related titles of my genre of books, like business books, and I read all of the reviews that were on Amazon for these other books. And in particular, I read the 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star reviews because those were people who were not happy, right? And so I read those reviews and I knew, okay, well, this is how my target audience is thinking. This is what they don't like. So I'm going to fix that in my book, so on and so forth. So this was one step that I did take, and I am taking that step for my third book as well. So basically, ask yourself, what is your self-doubt protecting you from, okay? And figure out ways how you can, make sure that it doesn't have to worry about protecting you in those aspects. Give me 1 second. I'm running out of camera time slot, and then I'm just gonna it's just gonna be 1 second, okay? Give me a second. Okay, we're back. Yes, where was I? Yes, I was talking about... I lose my train of thought. It's just 1 second. I'm not even kidding. It's 1 second and I always lose my train of thought. So I was talking about questions to ask yourself about your self-doubt and self-confidence. Now, the next question that you can ask yourself at this point is, well, what can I do to raise my self-confidence? What is going to make me feel more secure in myself? Is it revisiting all of my older achievements in this area of expertise? Or is it reminding myself of the times that I struggled and I overcame that, reminding myself of my power, reminding myself of my strength? Or it could be, as you heard with my example, validating yourself through different means, okay? Like, for example, for me, I put little thoughts of mine outside, and those were small confirmations for me. I even spoke to some of my friends. There have been different times in my life where I've had self-doubt, and I've spoken to my friends, spoken to my mentors, and they've sort of given me a very realistic approach or their realistic thoughts, so on and so forth. So you can do that as well. Reach for help. Ask the people around you. Ask your trusted people, okay? That's important. Ask your trusted people for their opinion, their thoughts, there are so many different ways that you can go about raising your self-confidence, but the important thing is you have to invest time in it, and it has to be actionable steps that you are taking. You could also do affirmations, you could do meditation just for you to bring your center down within you, calm yourself down when you are panicking about your self-doubt. I have a bunch of affirmations on my wall right now as we are speaking, and the reason for that is because sometimes my self-doubt, does stop me from taking action, and for me those just help me remind myself of my power, my strength, my capabilities, and then I'm able to raise my self-confidence. So affirmations also would be a great way for you to help yourself as well. So there are different ways that you can go about this, okay? So it's all about making sure that you are taking intentional action towards raising your self-confidence, because, and we're going to repeat the concept again, when your self-doubt is more than your self-confidence, that's when you feel yourself in a state of stuckness. I hope that's a word. Stuckness. It stops you from taking action. But when you work on not eliminating your self-doubt, when you work on increasing your self-confidence to exceed your self-doubt, that's when you can take action. And the bigger the gap is between your self-doubt and your self-confidence, the easier it becomes for you to take bigger steps towards whatever it is that you are looking for. So every time you feel your self-doubt stopping you from taking action, you're feeling a little bit restricted, like you know what you have to do, you know that's the life that you want, you know that's the direction that you want to go in, but you find yourself very restricted, that's usually a sign that it's self-doubt. And the minute you feel that way, the minute you feel restricted, you feel stuck in that position, like you know what to do but you can't do it, you can't seem to bring yourself to do it, the first thing that you got to do is do not panic, okay? Understand that it is normal for you to have self-doubt. There is nothing wrong with having self-doubt. Take some time to evaluate, why does that self-doubt exist? Was there any trigger incident that started this for you? Or did you see it happen to someone else and that's why you're worried it'll happen to you? Like maybe somebody else stumbled and you're worried that's going to happen to you. Or it could also be that maybe your mind is just protecting you from what it perceives to be a threat. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. All you have to do is take steps to make sure that your mind feels okay about whatever it is protecting you from. Put in extra layers to whatever goals that you've set so that you feel more secure, and also take actionable steps to increase your self-confidence. And that could be anything. It could be reminding yourself of your old achievements. It could be affirmations. It could be through journaling, where you dissect what exactly is your thought process and how to overcome that particular thought process that's hindering you. It could be talking to your mentors, your friends, trusted people, experts in their fields. It could be putting out little bits of yourself that you need to validate, like thoughts of yourself, just so that you have those little bits to validate yourself. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you have to have internal validation. And I think all of that is just really good for slogans, but sometimes you need external validation, and of course to a point where it is healthy, that's okay. Beyond that, yes, I do agree that it's not good, but for just to give you that little bit of push, it's okay that you need external validation. And I think this is going to be another podcast episode where we're going to talk about external validation, but I want to say that it's okay if you need it externally, if you need that confirmation externally sometimes, okay? Of course, there comes a point where everything in excess is not good for you. I guess I would say that. So as long as that's in moderation, as long as there's a healthy approach to that, I think you're okay, okay? Don't worry about that. So, maybe sometimes you need a little bit of external validation just to, I wouldn't even call it external validation. I would just be you testing your thoughts and seeing if it works. You put product testings out, you put beta tests out. There's a reason for that, right? It's to confirm that you've been doing okay, or it is to give you that room, that space, that feedback for you to improve yourself, so on and so forth. So think of it as leaving out little bits of your thoughts or little bits of actions as a beta test. That could also be one more way that you look at it, okay? So my point of this entire podio is so that when you think of self-confidence and self-doubt, you're not looking at self-doubt as the evil thing or something that needs to be vanquished and removed. That's a very hard way to go, because it's a very natural response that your mind is having, okay? It's there to protect you. I said this in one of the previous episodes as well, your mind is your biggest protector. As much as it doesn't seem like it sometimes, it is there. It works 24/7 to protect you. And sometimes that protection can go a little bit overboard, okay? Sometimes it does. I agree with that. And so your job is to make sure that it feels as secure as possible. It's to understand it's working and to say, you know what? I understand that you're scared. I understand that you are trying to protect me. I have no idea what is that sound. I think it might be a bird. Okay, I don't know if you could catch that on the camera or on the microphone, but I think it's a bird outside. Okay, anyway, where was I? That's my train of thought again. What was I? Yes, I was saying, as long as you acknowledge that, all right, I do have this self-doubt, I do have this thing that's there at the back of my mind, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm not going to let it hinder me. I'm just going to keep going. That's when you are approaching it the healthy way. At least this is what has worked for me for 31 years of my life. And trust me, ever since I was a kid, all the way up until now, people keep asking me, how is it that you have the confidence to do this, to start this on your own, to just go against what society or the norms are? And I gotta say, it's not that I wasn't without self-doubt. No way. I have had self-doubt every step along the way. It's just, I always work hard to make sure that my self-confidence exceeds my self-doubt. It's just as simple as that. That is the trick. That is my secret. And now that you know it, you will be able to work on it. And I do want to say that initially it's going to be a little bit hard for you. I've been doing this for 31 years. For me, the minute I feel self-doubt, I'm no longer panicking. I'm just like, okay, you know what? We've got the steps ready. Let's just work on increasing my self-confidence. Yeah, even in April of 2021, when I stopped writing because I wasn't feeling confident, I didn't panic. I was just like, okay, you know what? Maybe in 2 weeks. But of course, at that point, I thought it would take me 2 years to build my self-confidence. And I was fine with that. I was okay with that. But I was able to build my self-confidence within 6 months. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. But yeah, my point is of sharing this. It's going to take you time, to figure out that you have self-doubt restricting you. Usually if you're feeling like, okay, I know this is the path that I want to go, that is the life that is most aligned to me, this is what I have to do, but you find yourself feeling restricted, that's usually a sign of self-doubt. Of course, in other cases, you might have self-doubt very loud, as in it tells you, I don't think you can do this, or so on and so forth. So that is one. Second, you need to keep time for is understanding where that self-doubt is coming from. Are you projecting someone else's limiting beliefs? Is it your own? And if it is your own, where did it come from? Is it because you watched someone else fail and you're worried that's going to happen to you? Did you watch someone go through something and you're worried that's the same incident is going to happen to you? Or did it happen to you in your life in the past and you're worried it's going to repeat it again? And in cases like that, asking yourself, well, what can I do to make sure I feel secure and I don't repeat whatever mistakes somebody else made or whatever mistakes I've made in the past? Or how can I change the narrative of what happened in the past? And you have to understand that if you're talking about a past experience, there's been a few years, right, since the incident. So you've grown as a person. So understanding that there is a change within you as well. And you could actually just need a little bit of push so that you can handle it better, so on and so forth, is also a great way. I also want to finally wrap this entire podio by telling you that the biggest truth about confidence is that it only comes after you do the task and you're successful with it. I gotta tell you, it only comes after. Confidence actually you can build it up, but it strengthens only after you've done the tasks. So which means you do the task once, like I've written the first book and I did my best to raise my self-confidence to beyond my self-doubt, right? But my self-doubt still existed, and that was book one. Then book one success, I was able to like magnify that self-confidence and that confidence for my second book. And then the second book also was a success. I had people telling me that journal prompts were really helping them. So again, solidify, strengthening my confidence. And now I'm on my book three. And frankly, it feels like, I'm just it's on autopilot now. That's what I want to say. I am not thinking, or I wouldn't say panicking, but I'm not finding myself as hindered as I was for my first book. With my third book, I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be part of a series. There are going to be 4. Actually, at this point, there are going to be 6 books in that series. And I'm fine with it. Like, there is no hesitation in me. Probably the only hesitation is that the only self-doubt, I guess I would say at this point, is the book is a little bit different. It's structured a little bit different, but it's closer to the first book, but it's still a little bit different. And I want to make sure that it's top-notch quality. I want to make sure that it is what people are looking for. It is what can help people. And so for that, I do have a little bit of self-doubt, but that's okay, And my confidence has built over the previous 2 books, So I want to say that confidence comes after the fact, you can build it before, but it strengthens only after. So that's also something to keep a watch out for, and to give yourself that leniency if you are struggling to build your self-confidence, because you have to understand that it's only by repeating the task again and again and finding success in it that your self-confidence strengthens. So a simpler way to go about this would just be to push your self-confidence higher than your self-doubt, and that itself will make you take the first step or take the steps that you need, okay? And as time goes, as you keep finding success in that task or in other tasks, and it kind of builds into your confidence, you will find that your confidence increases in levels. And like I told you before, the greater the distance between your self-doubt and your self-confidence, the easier it becomes for you to take bigger steps and go towards the direction that you are looking for. So yeah, that brings me to the end of this entire audio. I really hope that with this episode, I'm able to open your eyes to another way of looking at self-confidence and self-doubt. For me, this is something that has worked for 31 years of my life, and I do not doubt this concept even a little bit. It just works. And I hope that you are able to implement this for yourself. Of course, if you have more questions about this, please feel free to ask me in the comment section below. If you would like a more private platform to ask me questions, you can absolutely DM me on my Instagram page. It's at @themarketingnomad. All right. Other than that, I have 2 books that are out on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like basically any online bookstore, you'll be able to find it. The first is 0 to 4 Figures. It is a business book on digital entrepreneurship. It's got stories and lessons, 61 stories and lessons on self-love, growth mindset, positive mindset, success mindset, relationships, what else? Business strategy, marketing, so on and so forth. So do check that out, 0 to 4 Figures. And I've got my second book, which is Self-Loved. It is a compilation of 1,000 journal prompts related to topics like trauma healing, inner child healing, manifestation, daily gratitude, reflection, so on, emotion management, so on and so forth. Other than that, I also have the Simple series by The Marketing Nomad. These are a bunch of productivity planners, trackers, and journals in case you're looking for solutions for your productivity problems. At the moment of publishing this podcast episode / YouTube video / podio, I'm laughing because I came up with the word podio to make sure that I don't say all of them together, and then I ended up saying all 3. So anyway, of course, at the moment of releasing this podio, there are about 17 of them available. The simplest way to find all of my stuff is to just go to my website, www.themarketingnomad.co. Also, the links will be in the description box below. Other than that, you can also just search my name on Amazon and all of my books will come out. There's even an author page for me on Amazon. So my name is Prithvi Madhukar. It's Prithvi space Madhukar. Other than that, if you liked this episode, please do give me a thumbs up. Do hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit that notification bell because that tells you every single time I do upload a podio. Yes, I said that correctly. I said it right this time. I'm happy. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much. And I will catch you in my next podio. Bye-bye.